It's the most wonderful time of the year, college football bowl season, baby. And there are 42 bowl and playoff games to keep us entertained for almost 3.5 weeks. Starting with Toledo versus Middle Tennessee State and going through the national championship on Monday, January 10th, pick your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper and get every college football bowl game they release, including any 5% best bets normally priced at $35 for the low price of $149. As an added bonus, make sure to download the free WagerTalk College Football Bowl Guide by going to wt.buzz/rm. From everyone at WagerTalk and Sports Memo, good luck this college football bowl season.
Welcome, everybody, to Wager Talk Today. I'm Lawrence Presman. That guy is Teddy Covers. Everyone has one question on their mind, Teddy. Did it happen again?
This morning, no. But thank you for asking.
You know what, dude? I feel I should ask you now on a regular basis. Great show, guys. Steve Merril joining us off the top. He's talking college hoops. Howard at Georgetown. Portland at Oregon, and Steve is absolutely killing it in college, so get out a pen and make sure to take notes. Carmine, Bianco, I don't know what I did to myself, Teddy. Why would I put Carm on this Wednesday show to talk hockey? I don't want to talk hockey. I don't want to think hockey. Nothing about hockey is doing it for me right now. Even my own hockey team lost 6-1 last night. And Art DiCesare, and I'm really excited about Art coming on today because lots of big line moves in the NFL. Want to ask him about that. What's up with you, bro?
Well, if you ask me what, there's two things we're going to talk about today. One is I'm as cold as the weather in Vegas right now, dude. Two wrong sides last night, one in college hoops, one in the NBA. And for those of you who think that Vegas doesn't get cold, it's winter in Vegas right now. We had a big storm through last night. There was like 8 feet of snow up in the mountains around town. But it gets cold in December and January here in Las Vegas. It's not LA. It's not South Florida. It's freezing out here, Prez. So I don't know. That's not a good what.
So basically, in a nutshell, who is a really beautiful woman? Scarlett Johansson. So Scarlett Johansson woke up this morning and told, who's a really ugly woman? Kathy Bates. And we'll go with Rebel Wilson because they're around the same age. So what you just did was ScarJo woke up in the morning and told Rebel Wilson that she doesn't look that great today. I'm freezing. You're not freezing. You are complaining about the weather in Vegas, and I'm in the freaking Arctic.
Incorrect, because you have chosen to live your life in
you didn't choose
region.
To live there?
No, I lived in Michigan for like close to a decade, and I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm moving to Vegas, so I don't have winter, and you still have winter. So there you go.
Yeah. Like the amount of small violins playing for you. Oh my God! Like Jesus, Teddy.
Well, the other thing that's going on right now that we'll talk about it in depth with Art DiCesare today, is the COVID outbreaks are on full display across sports, all across sports. And this is kind of last year when this was happening, every outbreak was very publicized and games were canceled everywhere. This year, we've been living through this for a long time now, and the reactions are more muted. Nonetheless, from a point spread perspective, we're seeing some dramatic moves. We saw some last week. We've seen some already in the betting markets this week. So the COVID news, unfortunately, close to 2 years later, Prez, still very much on the front page of the headlines every day in the sports betting world. And that is most assuredly a concern for all of us.
Yeah, and Teddy, I mean, there's no end in sight. And I could be wrong with the statistic, but I think in the NHL, 145 players are in COVID right now, protocol. I mean, like just absolutely insane numbers. Brother Jackson D logs onto the chat and wrote something so awesome. Whenever I turn on the stream, Prez is always saying something dumb. So, Teddy, I have a question, and I'm curious. You have two people. One says something dumb, and the other person continuously listens out of choice to the person who says dumb things. Who's the bigger idiot?
He's not watching the show for you, Prez. He's watching the show for everybody else.
They all watch the show for me. Steve Merril joining us. Steve, what's up, brother? I know you do, dude. You're the best. Teddy, get sick again.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that was terrible. I'm sorry, Teddy. Hugs.
And this time make it fatal.
Yeah, no, don't make it fatal. You're a good friend of mine. I need you in my life. Steve, what's going on with you? How's the hoops been going? Last time you were on, you were killing it.
Yeah, we won again last night. Took Memphis as they upset Alabama. A little bit of a contrarian call there, I think. And now 10-5, 67% this season in college hoops. We tread lightly, as you know. Last year, 25-7 the first 2 months. So not high volume, but high profit. And that's what I care about. We're number one once again this year in college hoops. And you can still get basically college for free for a month. You buy the NBA, you get college for free, or vice versa. It's a 2-for-1 special. Promo code HOOPS179. Hoops179 gets 30 days of both for half price.
Steve Merril joining us. And Teddy, Jackson D did point out that he is here for you.
Thank you, Jackson. Appreciate that very much.
There you go. Shout out from Teddy. Oh, Steve, Howard at Georgetown, -10, 155.5, a 6:30 Eastern game. What should we do in this one?
Yeah, so I sent this over last night. There was only a couple look-ahead lines because this is on the extra board, but it is holding pretty much at 10.5 now, so not too much movement. A little bit of a movement down. I saw it as high as 11 or 12 when it briefly opened yesterday on Tuesday, and I know it's not a high-profile game. There's actually not that many high-profile college games tonight on Wednesday. I do have a strong best bet at WagerTalk.com on one of the bigger games, but this one's on the extra board. I wanted to talk about it for a couple reasons. First of all, it's a local game for me, a couple of D.C. teams. Just yesterday, I was talking to the father of one of the assistant coaches for Howard. His son is one of the assistants there this season, came over from Notre Dame after like 20 years with the Irish. And Howard's an interesting team. There's a lot of excitement there. They've always been a bottom feeder. It's kind of the Ivy League school for the MEAC conference. It's a very good academic school, surprisingly. I didn't know that actually until I was talking to some people. Georgetown, of course, a very good academic school as well that people don't realize sometimes. Howard is 5-4 in the season, but I think this is a good spot to fade him tonight. And Georgetown's not exactly been a play-on team for me. I thought they were a little phony coming into the season. You remember last year, they had a losing record all the way until they won 5 straight in the Big East tournament just to make the NCAA tournament. And I felt they were going to be a little overrated this year coming in. Got off to a bit of a slow start against the spread. They were just 2-5 ATS their first 7 line games. But they've now won and covered back-to-back games. So I think they're actually a little bit underrated now, including an upset one against Syracuse at home on Saturday. And there's a few things I wanted to point out just from a big picture handicapping perspective about this game. First of all, both teams like to play up-tempo fast. Whenever you get two teams that like an up-tempo style, I always like to look at the better, more athletic team because they have better athletes. They do it better. Howard likes to play at a pretty fast pace. So does Georgetown, though. So I just don't think it's going to work for Howard in this game. The other thing I wanted to point out also is that Howard's been off for the exam period for a week and a half. They didn't play since a Saturday ago back on the 4th, a week before Georgetown just played their last game this past Saturday. And that's something to keep an eye on in games coming up over the next couple of weeks. A lot of these schools will have a 7 to 10 day layoff here with exams. So I think this could be a little bit of a flat spot for Howard as that bye week came at a bad time for them as they were playing decent basketball. A huge step up in class also as they just played Mount St. Mary's and American in their previous 2 games. So we get a little bit of an underrated Georgetown team. Both teams play fast, and we get the extended layoff for Howard. I think this is a good setup for the Hoyas, and I don't think they'll overlook a weaker team here. It's an in-city rival, so I think they'll bring their A game and win by double digits.
So, I mean, in general, Steve, when we look at these in-city rivalries or the little guy playing the big guy, the motivation tends to be there for the lesser of the two schools, even though the matchups in this situation may not be in favor of the Bison. But it's a Georgetown team. They just beat Syracuse. Huge win, upset win over the Orange. On deck, you have TCU, you have Providence before Christmas, much bigger games than this one. Well, the Hoyas going to be interested tonight to focus for 40 minutes against their little brother.
Yeah, no, I agree, Teddy. I think in a normal situation, if you told me you're going to get a rival dog against a double-digit favorite that just won straight up as a dog, I'd be like, boy, that's a terrible spot for him. Just think this situation's a little bit different. I think Georgetown, after losing 3 of those previous 4 games before these back-to-back wins, will remain focused. And I also think it could be a little bit of a flat spot for Howard just due to the fact they've been off for a week and a half. But normally I would agree with you. I think the rival dogs in these situations are worth a look. But the fact they're going to both play fast, that also makes it a little bit easier to cover the double-digit spread, as it should be a high-scoring game. This total is priced around 154.5. More points obviously makes it easier to cover a 10.5-point spread.
Steve Merril joining us. Steve, number 1 ranked college hoops expert last year, this year, and probably for many years to come. Portland at Oregon, minus 17.5, 140.5. I'm freezing, man. I literally left in the middle of that whole thing to go get a sweatshirt. I'm so cold. How do we handicap this one, Steve?
So you missed all the great things I said. Prez, I was just singing your praises for the last 2 minutes, and Teddy was just ripping you, and I just kept defending you that whole time. Anyway, so this is one of the keys to college handicapping for me is pace of play. And we talked about that last game. They both play fast, right? When that's the case, I like to take the better team because I think they usually do it better with better athletes. But one of the favorite things for me in all of college basketball handicapping, and one of the reasons I've been number 1 the last 2 years combined, a lot of those winners have been angles like this, in which we get a fast team against a slow team. Portland's one of the faster tempo teams in the nation. They're in the top third. Oregon, meanwhile, is one of the slowest teams in the entire country. There's 358 teams. They currently are 313th in pace. Once again, Oregon not having a good season, obviously, just 5-5 straight up. They're expecting bigger things, and that's been shown with a terrible 2-8 point spread record. But because of that, I think we're starting to get some line value now with Oregon, and I like the matchup here. They're coming off back-to-back losses against Arizona State and Stanford. This is a huge step down in class for the Ducks. The fact that they're off back-to-back losses, I know they have Baylor on deck. They're not going to overlook this game because they probably realize they have another loss coming against Baylor maybe this Saturday. So it's a focus spot for that reason. They slow things down to a crawl. Portland is not comfortable playing that way. And I know Portland's been very good against the spread recently. In fact, they've covered 5 straight. The last 2 they have failed to cover those. So once again, I think they've become a little bit overrated. Oregon's a little bit underrated. And I like the matchup here. Now, it does seem like a big number. If you guys remember a week or so, I was on here and we talked about Virginia Tech laying that 18 against Cornell, who had the best point spread record in the country. And I said that Tech really liked to play slow. Cornell likes to speed it up. Tech won that game by over 30. The other thing I pointed out about that game was that Tech had covered almost all the games as a big favorite. You look at Oregon here. They've had a pretty tough schedule recently, but when they've been a big favorite, the last time they were a double-digit favorite, they struggled against Riverside. But the game before that against Montana as a 13.5-point favorite, they won by 40. To open the season, they were a 21-point favorite. They won by 17. I know that's not a cover, but it's still right where this line is tonight. And then meanwhile, you look at Portland. They're not nearly as good as their record indicates. They've played a very weak schedule. And also, they've only been a dog a handful of times. In fact, they've only been a double-digit dog once all season. That was an opener against a bad Arizona State team at the time. They still lost by 16. The other times they've been a dog, it's all been single digits or they've been favored. So it's a huge step up in class for Portland, step down for Oregon, focus spot off back-to-back losses, and we get that slow-down half-court style that's going to frustrate the Pilots tonight. That's a late game tonight, by the way. That goes at 9 o'clock Eastern.
So certainly very frustrating losses for Oregon the last 2 games. Tight game against Stanford, tight game against Arizona State. But that's 2 Pac-12 games. You talked about Baylor on deck. Are they interested tonight? Are they interested to win by this type of a margin against a team? Say what you want about Portland. They've been good in the road dog role. They're 5-0 in the last 5 road games, including 4-0. Their last 4 tries as road dogs.
Yeah, they have. They've been competitive, but once again, this is a pretty big step up in class. The only really good road team they played to the other Pac-12 team in that opener, as I mentioned, was Arizona State. Now, keep in mind, they were a 22-point dog, so I know they covered losing by 16, but Oregon would probably rate ahead of Arizona State now. So that line was inflated, and they still lost that game by 16. And the other reason I point that out, that was a slower paced game as well, which the Pilots do not like to play that way. The theme, Teddy, were these 2 games today with both, Georgetown and Oregon. Normally, if you just looked at the schedule and didn't know the recent results, you'd say, boy, these are flat spots for the big favorites, right? But the fact that Oregon is off the back-to-back losses, even though they were close, and they've got Baylor on deck, I think they actually don't overlook this game for that reason, and they take advantage of a winnable game, and they don't take their foot off the gas. And I just don't think Portland can play a half-court style. They're not an efficient offensive team, and I think some of their recent results have been misleading.
Steve Merril, you're joining us on Friday, sitting in for Rob Vino. We're going to talk some NFL football.
Sounds good, my man. The NFL has been crazy, by the way. The last couple of weeks, the Fade the Public video had been on a 13-4 run. The public has crushed it the last 2 weeks. 7-1, I believe, the last 2 weeks with the public plays. So just beware out there is what I'm saying, because normally when that happens, the public has a really bad week around the corner. We'll see if it's this weekend.
Steve Merril, everyone, make sure to take advantage of his 2-for-1 offer. Buy his NBA, get his CBB. Buy his CBB, get his NBA. Head over to WagerTalk. Use the promo code HOOPS179. Steve, thanks for doing this, man. Get out of here, guys. We're going to take a quick break. Teddy's big game breakdown. Carmine, Bianco coming on. Art DiCesare. I'm going to talk to Teddy about the Cleveland Raiders game. Stay with us.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. College football bowl season, baby. And there are 42 bowl and playoff games to keep us entertained for almost 3.5 weeks. Starting with Toledo versus Middle Tennessee State and going through the national championship on Monday, January 10th. Pick your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper and get every college football bowl game they release, including any 5% best bets normally priced at $35 for the low price of $149. As an added bonus, make sure to download the free WagerTalk College Football Bowl Guide by going to wt.buzz/rm. From everyone at WagerTalk and Sports Memo, good luck this college football bowl season.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk the Cure Bowl on Friday, 3 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock for you back east. Right now, looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen, I'm seeing Coastal Carolina minus 10.5 total. Let's call it 63.5. There is some variance on that total. And certainly the Chanticleers, they're 21-3 straight up the last 2 seasons. All right. Grayson McCall, the QB, has 5,000 passing yards this year. He completed 71% of his passes, 50 touchdowns against only 6 interceptions in his career with the Chanticleers. Certainly some really good-looking numbers. They led the country in passing efficiency this season, 6th in scoring. The rushing offense was really good. It's not a one-dimensional attack. They led the nation in third down conversions. I mean, lots of good numbers for Coastal Carolina. The defense was the best in the Sun Belt. They allowed a league low 325 yards per game for the season, number 3 in the Sun Belt in points allowed. Good against the run, solid against the pass. There's a reason that Coastal is a heavy favorite in this ballgame. All that being said, there are some big red flags about Coastal Carolina in this contest. And number 1 comes with strength of schedule. There are 130 FBS teams. And Coastal Carolina finished, I think, 146th in terms of schedule ranking. They played basically nobody all season long. They got every right team at the right time. They have not been challenged. They have not stepped up in class. They also played in this same bowl game last year. They were in the Bahamas and lost, which might be a motivator for a team. At the same time, going back to the same, the Bahamas in Orlando. Going back to the same place 2 years in a row isn't always the best bowl motivator. And this Northern Illinois team, I'll tell you what, they're a sticky squad, all right? Defensively, the numbers aren't any good. The quarterback play with Rocky Lombardi, mediocre at best. What Northern Illinois did this year, they ran the football, and they ran the football, and they hung tough game after game after game and found a way to steal it late. From the opener at Georgia Tech, same story. You can go through the whole season. A lot of teams were better than Northern Illinois. But the Huskies played smart football. They didn't beat themselves. They ground out clock on the ground. They grinded out yardage and clock on the ground, and they kept stuff close. I think they can do it here. If I'm playing this one, it would be Northern Illinois plus the points. I think 10.5 is a little bit too much. They're not the better of these two teams. And if you match up the athletes, one side or the other, it's clear favorite for the Chanticleers. But games aren't played on paper. They're played in person. This Northern Illinois character has impressed me all year. I think they hang tough on Friday night. Give me the Huskies plus 10.5. Here's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy, is there a company in America called Cure? I don't understand. Like, who's sponsoring this bowl? Cure? Like, what
Cure.
is it?
The rock
Like
and roll
band?
group, the Cure. Yeah.
Robert Smith?
Yeah.
Love cats. Do.
Yes, I'm joking, by the way. I don't know who the Cure is. There's clearly something called Cure. No, it's not the Robert Smith band. And please don't sing Love Cats.
Can I? How about? Is there? Do they have another really good song? No, I want to sing. I feel like singing.
Sing Carmine's praises.
Carmine's praises. How is that?
Perfect. Now introduce him and bring him in.
Okay, we'll talk NFL with Art. Carmine, Bianco. What a show we had on Puck Time today, dude. You were quite miserable.
Oh, yeah. Teddy, I feel sorry for you, man. The only thing missing on today's show with Prez was that garbage can around him with the lid, because he was Oscar the Grouch today. And to your point of what is Cure, Prez? Cure, it's they're raising money. It's for awareness for breast cancer and research. So all money goes to Breast Cancer Research Foundation.
Yes.
So that's what the Cure Bowl is. So you know.
Well, you know what? Sounds like something every bowl should do, but instead, the universities in America have just recently hiked up their tuition fees. They run a racket like nobody, slave labor with all their athletes. No, they have to actually collect money for the bowl games because they don't have enough. Kudos to the Cure Bowl. That's my favorite bowl as of this minute. Carmine, small NHL card. Washington Capitals going into Chicago tonight. How should we bet this game?
Yeah, I'll make this quick because we talked about it today. But Marc-Andre Fleury is now announced as a goalie for tonight for Chicago. So the lines come down a bit because they thought it could be the backup in there. He's 7-3 his last 10, but it's Samsonov. It should be Samsonov in net tonight for Washington, and they did lose a couple weeks ago at home as a -200 favorite to this Chicago team. Samsonov's coming off a loss. He's 2-0 this year, coming off a loss, and he was 5-0 last year, coming off a loss. He really responds well, as does the team in front of him. So give me Washington lane -140 or -150. It's -140 right now, so you can get a better price than it was earlier this morning. I think Washington's the play here.
On a short NHL card, only 3 games tonight, we're going to talk about one with a big road favorite, the New York Rangers, -210. There are even some -220s out there right now on the road at Arizona against the hapless Coyotes. Total here sitting at 5.5. It's a little bit of money to the under at a couple of shops. What are we going to do with this one? Lay the price with the Rangers, take the big plus price with Arizona, or are we looking at the total between New York, Rangers and the Coyotes?
Yeah, Rangers played last night in Colorado. They lost 4-2, but a more respectable performance considering they lost 7-3 at home with their emergency goalie in net. They got bombed in that game. It's a sort of a similar scenario tonight. They're likely going to have Keith Kincaid, who is called up from the minors for this one. Shesterkin's still injured, so I don't think he plays tonight. And they're not going to play Georgiev 2 nights in a row. Arizona's got Wedgwood in net. Since coming over, he had a great start, but his last 5 have been absolutely horrid. He's lost all 5 games, allowed his goals against averages 3.87 in those. The total's at 5, but it's -110 both ways. The books put up a 5.5, and with -110 juice both ways, Teddy, they're telling you, listen, you decide whether you want the over and the under. Well, the one caveat to this one is Arizona doesn't score a lot of goals in that 5-game losing streak for Wedgwood. They only averaged 1.95 goals per game, I believe. But I think with 2 goalies who aren't starters in net tonight, I think 5.5 is the total here. Rangers should win this game, but I think we'll see some goals tonight. So over 5.5 is my play here.
Carmine, Bianco, everyone. Guys, Robert Mathers points out now another Cure song, and it was my favorite Cure song. It's Friday, I'm in Love. You remember that one, Teddy? Should we do it together?
if that's your favorite Cure song, you're lamer than I even thought you were.
Dude, it's not like I put the Cure
song
up on my list of like greatest bands of all time. Although I did have like a 2-week period in my life in grade 10. A real hot girl liked the Cure, so I became a Cure fan, and I even wore eyeliner and pearls for about 2 weeks. Took care of business with her and moved on to the English Beat. Remember the English Beat?
Yes.
Well, there was another girl who liked the English Beat, so
I'm sure
I got into ska. Yeah, what can I tell you? Thanks, Carm. Great work, man. Art DiCesare joining us. He probably does not remember the English Beat, though. That's a band that has sort of fallen to the wayside of history. But if anyone has not heard of them, check them out. They are pretty good, original music, and they did become the Fine Young Cannibals. Art DiCesare, welcome to WagerTalk Today. Love having you, man. What's going on?
Oh, not much. Good morning, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
I got questions for you. Let's start right off the top. I want to ask you about this Las Vegas-Cleveland game. Obviously, we just heard some news in the last 12 hours or so about a ton of Cleveland guys going on COVID, et cetera, et cetera. And we saw line moves. Now, obviously, I understand the line moves. Here's what I find intriguing. At one book, we have Vegas at -2. At another book, -1. At another book, -1.5. And then at about 40%.
No, those are sale lines. They're not real, Lawrence. They're not real. They haven't come down.
Oh, is this? Oh, no. What happened to the WagerTalk odds page?
When you have a situation where a game comes off the board and comes back and gets put back on the board, the odds page sometimes doesn't. Anytime you see a live odds screen and there's one team's favored on -1 and then another team's favored -3,
yeah,
it's not real.
What's going on?
Okay, it's not real. Okay, there's stale lines on there, and that's the situation for this.
Okay,
it does
so
update
where
automatically
is the
and
Cleveland
periodically.
Line? Where's the Cleveland line right now? What's going on with Cleveland and Vegas over?
Give
at
them
the
a sport:
Westgate?
Browns and Raiders. The Cleveland line.
Well, we were just talking about Cleveland and the Raiders.
We have Cleveland -3.
They do have Cleveland -3. I'm wrong.
His head's gonna explode.
That entire lecture was wrong.
Although I'm honestly not convinced that I don't want to. I'm not convinced that Art is right. That if you go into the Westgate, right, I'll get my phone. I'll see if I can bet it. But I'm not convinced that that's actually.
Art, we got -2s to the Vegas and other books. That's a 5-point difference. How is this possible? What's going on?
Well, I've even noticed, too, that it is taken off the board at some places. So, obviously, this game has been wrecked by COVID. So, with all the line moves, there are going to be some places that take it off. I mean, a lot of the times we don't want to take games off the board. We've had this discussion before. It's not in our best interest to have games off the board because we still want people to bet them. It is a Saturday game. But, yeah, I mean, we're kind of in this position now where we're going to have to figure out what's going on with a lot of these games because in all these sports, COVID is starting to kind of wreck things again. So, you got to be wary of what's going on.
Yeah, so, Teddy, were you able to bet Cleveland -3 at the Westgate?
No, I don't have my phone up here. I didn't try.
Oh.
But there's two factors, okay? One, the global line right now is -1 for the Raiders, -1.5, -2. That's where it is at most books. If you go into a book right now and bet the Raiders +3, if someone has a stale number up there, what you're doing in the book is basically you're flipping them the bird. All right? At a book like the Westgate.
That sounds like a good plan.
It's a good plan if you don't want to bet there. You're just trying to get one hit and one score. Westgate is a book. The Superbook is a book that I have a relationship with. All right. This isn't hit and run action on the Superbook. All right. We know. So
Art,
when you have a relationship with a sports book and you're going in to try to bet games that they haven't taken off the board for whatever reason, they'll take your action, but the relationship won't be the same. I'm getting
Art, I'll take the Raiders +3 for 10 dimes, please.
Okay.
We're gonna hit and run. We're gonna hit and run, Art. Hit and run, baby.
I want to hear Art's thoughts on that.
Yeah, Teddy, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think when you establish a relationship with a sports book, if you're a guy who is a better player or a player who's playing with us every day, I think there's definitely some give and take with that. I mean, we both need each other, right? So
it's total BS.
I don't think it is. I don't think so.
Art, you put a lineup. People should be allowed to bet the line without you getting mad. If you got a problem with it, take it down.
I don't know. I don't disagree with that.
Flipping the bird.
I don't disagree with that. If the line's up, you should be able to bet it for sure. There's no doubt about that.
And there are situations. There are situations where you can make a bet before the broader market has moved, and the book's not going to be mad at you for that. But when the broader market has already moved, no, that's the nature of what we do. And look, if you're betting for real, not getting barred and not getting banned and not getting your limits cut is a part of the process. And you have to sometimes not take 3 points the best of it because you don't want to get barred, banned, or to get your limits cut. And that's just how it is. It's real.
Fine. I think it's poor sportsmanship on the book's part, but I love Art, and I would never do anything to bother Art. Speaking of which, the Rams, Arthur DiCesare, -7 yesterday. What do you got going on with the Rams at the Westgate?
The Rams are going to have to look because now you got me all hot and bothered about these lines. I don't know what to do. I don't want to get yelled at.
Forget the Rams for a minute. We'll get to the Rams for a minute. Did you have any take on the Raiders-Browns? Because we talked about the line and whether the line was real or not on the screen. Did you have a take on the game? Do you expect the money to continue to come for the Raiders? Do you have any thoughts about the Raiders and the Browns on, I guess it's not, on the week before Christmas with Saturday? And then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, Teddy, we're always going to take Raider money. We know that. It's just the way it is. And obviously with the Browns being decimated by COVID, it's just a spot that's going to lend itself to, have us be rooting for the Browns because we kind of always are rooting against the Raiders anyway, for the most part. And it's a Saturday game, so it's not a standalone game necessarily, but there are only 2 NFL games that day, so we should see a pretty good handle on the game. So yeah, all those factors are going to, for us, indicate a lot of Raider money coming in. And let me see, Prez, right now. Rams -4.5.
Yeah, so another massive line move due to the old COVID situation.
Exactly.
And any thoughts on that game?
I mean, Rams kind of figured. I don't know if they figured it out on Monday night, but they had a great win. That was a big win for them. Something that they really needed. Now for us, Rams on Monday night was actually a good result. This past weekend wasn't that great of a weekend for us. So Rams finishing up on Monday was nice for us. I think like most of these games, it's a kind of a wait-and-see approach. I think if you do get the Rams now at 4.5, there's probably some value there. The Rams are a better team. But I don't know. What do you do with all this COVID stuff, right? I mean, it didn't affect them on Monday. They lost Higbee, which is a good player, and Ramsey, one of the best secondary players, if not the best safety in the league. So, it didn't affect them there. But who knows moving forward how much it affects these teams.
Teddy?
Yeah, Teddy. I thought you had
any thoughts on any thoughts on the Rams
I assume
game?
that when you tapped in at the last second, that meant you had a follow-up question.
Any thoughts on the Rams game, Teddy? I'm not listening to your shit today.
Damn, he's feisty today.
You've been listening to it all morning, my friend, and it's not going to end. I wanted to ask, I'm going to go back to the Raiders because I do have a follow-up question on the Raiders.
Okay.
Because, Art, you said that you consistently and continue to get money for Vegas every week, and that your liability goes to the Raiders despite the fact that they've been pretty rough the last couple of weeks. Do you expect that to continue even if the Raiders stink?
Well, I'll say this, Teddy. So last week was actually like the 1 week where we didn't have Raider money. It was a lot of Chief money. We were not flooded with the Raider money that we normally are. Now, obviously, we've seen, because they haven't played well over the last couple of weeks, we've seen that number kind of come down, and our liability to the Raiders every week get lower and lower. Yes, when the team is bad, eventually there's probably going to be some go against them. But I think this week sets up for kind of these are kind of two evenly matched teams, a lot of COVID issues, all the things. I think, though, moving forward, we won't be in a position where it's heavy Raider action, but they're still a local team. We just have so many Raider fans here and so many people who want to bet the quote-unquote local team. So, yeah, we'll always have some Raider liability, but it's definitely dwindled as the season has gone on, because early in the season, it was crazy how much Raider liability we had.
Art DiCesare, Westgate Sportsbook supervisor, and one of the best guests on this show, that's for sure. Art, I got one more question, NFL-wise. Indy, New England, this is a massive game. I'm sure you're going to have a big handle on it. Any thoughts on how to bet this game, where the line might end, etc.?
Well, yeah, Prez, so, the other Saturday game, right? Two pretty decent Saturday games,
Yep.
Unless that Raider-Brown game gets totally wrecked by COVID. But New England and Indianapolis, it's a great game. It really is. Now, we had a look ahead. We had Patriots -2, 2.5. It's now flipped all the way to Colts -2. So I think there are some people out there in the betting market who think New England eventually will drop a game here. There was some thoughts of that, happening on that Monday night game. On the road again against a really good team. Indy's really good. Obviously, weather's not going to play a factor in this one. It's in a dome. I think Indy is better than their record indicates. So right now there is Colt money. I think if we were to ever get to 3, and I don't know if we'll get there, there'll be buyback on New England. But obviously we'll see what happens moving forward. For what it matters, I like the Colts a little bit in the game. I don't love the game because New England just burns everyone, and this is what they do. But I like the Colts a little bit in the game.
Yeah, hard to step in front of the Patriots.
It is.
They've taken a whole lot of people's money for a very, very long time. Let's just focus to college football. Obviously, the bowls start this week. There are 8 FBS bowl games, and then the FCS championship matchups and all that sort of thing. Anything stand out in terms of early for this weekend's bowl action? Who the wise guys are betting? Who's the public betting?
Teddy, I actually heard you talk about the Cure Bowl in your big game breakdown. And we've actually seen some Husky money come in. So now the line's only moved half a point, so people will be like, oh, why hasn't it moved more? Obviously, it's a lower tier game. These early bowls don't attract a ton of public bettors. More of the sharp bettors jump in on these early bowls, finding numbers or situations that they like. But early on, for one of those bowl games on Friday, the Cure Bowl, like you said, in Orlando, Husky money has come in. People bought in on 11. People are still buying in on 10.5. So we'll see if we get to 10 at some point. But right now, Husky money coming in for that bowl.
And for the big bowl games, as we get into the week and next week and the week after, talk about the 2 national championship semifinal games and any other the big bowl games that stand out. What kind of early action are you seeing on the biggest games for bowl season?
Yeah, well, obviously the 2 playoff games, which are New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, I believe, the 31st.
Yeah.
Alabama 13.5. No surprise, Alabama money coming in. It's hard to back Cincinnati, and the public is going to be all over Alabama. We just know that that's the way it's going to be. The other game is the more intriguing game, obviously Georgia and Michigan. Michigan money has come in. We've seen some pretty early Michigan money. I think at some point there will be some buyback on Georgia, but right now the 2 early, kind of liabilities for us are going to be Alabama and Michigan, but still a long ways to go. I mean, we got weeks before those games, so a lot of things can happen over the next couple weeks. But early on, that's where it's kind of been.
We're talking, of course, with Art DiCesare, the supervisor over at the Westgate Race and Sportsbook. An excellent follow on Twitter at ArtDice21. He's kind enough to share. He comes in on his off day. Art's off on Wednesdays. He still comes in and hangs out with us, which we appreciate very much. Let's shift our focus to today's betting action. We have a big NBA card. We have a decent-sized college basketball card and a short little NHL card that I'll let Prez ask you about at the end, if you like. But what are we seeing into the early line moves today for the association? Any teams attracting a lot of betting attention? And have you seen any legit public teams in the NBA this year that you're having to shade a little bit because you're getting action on that team game in, game out? Or is that just not the case so far in the association this season?
Well, the one game you'd want to touch on so far in the NBA, Heat at Sixers, opened 5.5. It's now 7. So you've seen some good Sixer money come in early. Yeah, Teddy, that question as far as which teams the public likes to bet in the NBA, I'll say this. It really is the big teams. And I know the Lakers record-wise aren't a big team. People still bet the Lakers. It's just the way it is. But this year, it's been about the Warriors and it's been about the Suns, the two best records in the league. The Warriors have just had this resurgence this year. People have kind of started to bet them like they did a couple of years ago when you just take Warrior money regardless. So the Warriors have been definitely a buy team. The public loves to bet on the Warriors. And a team that's been under the radar, but some of the public has started to jump on, but the sharper players have jumped on earlier, was Cleveland. Man, the Cavs. I mean, they've been like the surprise of the NBA. I know they're laying, I believe, 9 tonight at home against a bad Houston team. And to think that Cleveland a month ago would be laying 9 to anyone is a ridiculous thought. But I think Cleveland's covered like 10, 11, 12 straight games. So Cleveland's been very surprising and a team that people have started to kind of pick up on. But I would say for us, every night it's the Warriors. When the Warriors play, people just bet the Warriors blindly. They love to do it.
Art DiCesare. Art, can't thank you enough for joining us. I have one more quick NFL question, more curiosity. Jacksonville line move. We've got a 4 on board. Houston. Every year there's a game like this. How much action do you take on a game like this? And is it mostly just wise, smart money?
Absolutely. These are probably, with Detroit, the 2 worst teams in the league. There's going to be no real serious action on the game. This is going to be more if someone happens to be in town and is a fan of one of these two teams, maybe they'll have some bets on the game. But yes, this is going to be a game that attracts wise guy action. People are going to look at this game and not want to bet the game at all. There's not going to be any need for people to have this in teasers or money line parlays or any of that. So we won't even worry about that. We'll just worry about the wise guy action that comes in on either side of this. These lower tier games are really lower tier for a reason.
Awesome stuff. Art DiCesare, what do you got to promote?
As always, guys, the Westgate, man. Just come in, check us out, check me out. Come in, ask for me. Thursdays, we have a great, reduced juice, -105. Obviously, no more college football, but you can do the NFL. You can take sides. We don't do any totals on that. So you come in on Thursdays about, midday, 2, 3 o'clock our time. You get the sheet. It will be -105 instead of the -110, so you save a little bit of money. Any questions you have, you come in, you ask for Arthur DiCesare, I'll get you set up. The app, seats, drink tickets, whatever you need, you come in, you ask for me. It's my job. I'll be more than happy to do it.
Awesome stuff. Guys, that's the show. No daily presidential address today, and I respect that. I had an awful day yesterday, so you guys kept the likes under 100. Respect. Nobody wants to hear my picks today. I get it. Teddy, bagel, cream cheese. I got to get out of here. Take us home.
Keeping it simple for lunch today. A bagel and cream cheese from the Prez. That's going to wrap it for the Wednesday edition of WagerTalk Today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to hang out with us. We'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east. Between now and then, enjoy the games and good luck.
Founded in 1957, the Gold Sheet is the country's longest-running sports betting newsletter. Each week, the Gold Sheet team delivers analysis on NFL and college football games, along with NBA and college basketball matchups. The Gold Sheet maintains in-depth point spread and results logs, giving sports bettors and enthusiasts the insights needed to maximize their wagers. For over 60 years, Gold Sheet readers have received key releases based on power rankings on all teams, and for the first time ever, you can now get these selections exclusively at goldsheet.com, wagertalk.com, and sportsmemo.com.